Now for global business updates, Rotus Odiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Doctor. Good morning, Vimbai. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning to all our viewers out there. We begin in the United States. We're looking forward to Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve making their decision on monetary policy direction. It's expected that that is going to be a hold. Let's go to the UK. Inflation numbers just coming out literally, about 20 minutes ago. I didn't get to look at core and everything else, but I think headline inflation in the UK decelerated to 3.4, or is it 3.5% in February, from about 4.1 in January. So Rishi Sunak has been adamant that inflation has to come down in the UK. He's facing a very tough election this year, the Tories as a whole. And, there's a whole lot of talk as to whether or not he even has the backing of his own party. I understand just about 24 hours ago, they said they've coalesced around him. So inflation is something he has been talking about relentlessly. We go to the Bank of England. They will be making their decision tomorrow on monetary policy in terms of the interest rates. It is also expected that there will be a hold as well. Inflation, again, has been pretty sticky with respect to getting down to these 2% targets that we are looking for. So we'll get that decision. It's been a big week for central banks. Also, Christine Lagarde, the European Central Bank president, she will be speaking at a forum today. She's expected to reiterate her position on inflation and interest rate direction, or rather inflation and monetary policy direction for Europe. We got February numbers for the EU and the Euro area. You can see the deceleration there, 2.8% from 3.1, and basically falling further, or rather decelerating further to the 2% target. But getting to 2%, that is the sticky part. So look, with respect to all these central bank decisions that we're getting this week, we spoke with PhD economist Dr. Lacal. He is a chief economist for Tresis in Spain. I asked him about the global inflationary environment, what central banks need to do, and he talked about the stickiness of inflation. Here he is.
Well, the global inflationary environment is certainly one of persistent inflation. The level of disinflation that we saw in 2022 and 23 has sort of stopped. And what we see right now is that there is a concerning trend of elevated core inflation, with another factor that is starting to creep up in inflation figures, which is the rise in energy prices. So the dangers of being too accommodative and certainly way too dovish for central banks is that this problem of persistent inflation perpetuates. So the decision of many central banks, particularly the Federal Reserve and the ECB, to hold rates makes sense, but they need to look at the data, see if things improve in the second part of the year, because obviously right now what we are also seeing is that the global economy is improving a little bit with the new figures estimated from China, and that certainly generates more inflationary pressures. So central banks will have to be cautious, and I think that they have to be aware of the fact that inflation is way too high still compared to where it should be.
All right, we should be getting the first major tech IPO debut tomorrow. Reddit, the social media app where a lot of people go and chat on different topics across the globe. I think when did Reddit open? Reddit started in 2005, I think, or 2006. Reddit has been around for quite a while. They've got about 73 million users. The Reddit IPO will be priced today. Trading will begin tomorrow. As I said, first major social tech debut on the exchange over in New York today. They are looking at a valuation, 22 million shares they're going to put out there, within $31 to $34 a share, a valuation of about $6.5 billion. And what Reddit has about, I think it's about 73 million users. So we will see how that goes tomorrow. Moving to Africa, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, the most capitalized stock exchange on the African continent, it's about $1 trillion. I think it's fallen down to about 980 something billion dollars. Is looking to begin begin trading carbon offsets, carbon credits. About April or May, the CEO, who's a woman, by the way, was speaking to the media about when those credits, they've partnered with a couple of other exchanges to get those credits. How it works is carbon offsetting, right? So if you're a company that is emitting CO2, you can essentially have to pay for those credits to offset it, when another company will take what you're paying for and try to offset your emissions into the environment. Of course, I believe you've already spoken about the new group managing director and CEO of Zenith Bank, Dr. Umeoji. She, of course, takes office June the 1st of this year, and she's been, of course, Deputy Managing Director since about October of 2016. We broke the news yesterday when we got wind of her being appointed. And, you know, she's got about, almost 30 years of banking experience, 26 of them spent at Zenith Bank. There is not enough room to talk about her education qualifications in the graphic that we put up. This lady is one of the most educated bankers in Nigeria. I mean, first class, accounting, Harvard, MIT, Sloan, Columbia. I mean, it's just, she's MBA. It's just a serious, bona fide list of education qualifications. And there was so much love coming on social media when the news broke that that she had been appointed. She seems to be a very well-liked person within the banking circles. Zenith Bank talked about the need to promote from within, so she's very much a part of the Zenith Bank culture, and it's a testament to the Nigerian banking sector to groom your leadership from within. So her appointment has been very well received. And again, it's Women's Heritage Month of March. We talked about Dr. Ikpe over at Fidelity Bank when she had got, subject to CBN approval, got her reappointment. So it's been a really good month for women, a good year for women in Nigeria. And then finally, I want to show you a chart, hopefully you have it, of money supply. The FAC allocation, Federal Accounts Allocation Committee, I think they distributed about 2.1 trillion naira to the 3 levels of government in February. About a 23% increase from January, was 1.6 trillion. For the full year of 2023, NATI said FAC distributions were about 10 trillion. That chart you're looking at, money supply in January of 2024 is about 92 trillion naira. That number was 9 trillion, I think, in 2009. So, you have to keep thinking about this, where money supply is going and how productivity is not meeting up with it. All this talk about, palliatives and cash distributions and so on and so forth. The CBN is doing what it can to try to drain money supply by offering higher incentives for securities, higher CRR and so on and so forth. We'll get to the CBN MPC meeting next week. That is our update for today.
And Rotus, I'm excited that you have seen the one of the biggest cause of the problem with inflation. Look at money supply. Can you compare that to the productivity in the economy? No. So why is it that sentiment was eating deep into our consciousness when during the political period, the former CBN governor said, okay, let's solve the money supply issue. Then people say, oh no, there was cash starvation and everything, so we shouldn't solve the issue. And now we are back to the issue again. And you can see those staggering numbers, because that's the real reason. A lot of money pumped into the economy, intervention, too much money chasing nothing. There's no substance there in the economy. So we need to be able to fix this money supply issue. Yeah, you talked about some of the operations as regards securities, but that's not also enough. A lot more needs to be done to rein in this because there's too much cash out there. But hey, all of this too will also increase when we start to have the next political cycle in a couple of years from now. So we need to rein it in now. I'm happy about Reddit because Reddit, if you use Reddit is an ecosystem that really gets a lot done. I mean, you remember when they had to rally a share for a particular gaming company and all of that. That speaks volumes about Reddit and the capacity they've got. 6.5 billion. I mean, it's not bad for a company that has stood the test of time. At a company that at some point, was at an all-time low, but it came up again. And I think to a large extent, Serena Williams' husband too will be smiling and saying, this is the thing we founded. Look at how well it's still doing. After, over 15, 20 years, many social media companies like Bebo and the likes didn't see the light of day, but Reddit kept it out all this while. But kudos to them.
Right. I take my comments to the Johannesburg Stock Exchange opening up a market to trade carbon credits, which I think is pretty ironic if you know South Africa's recent history with sort of policy flip-flop on issues concerning coal. Now, for background, we all know South Africa is heavily coal dependent, especially right now where they're experiencing incessant load shedding. There's no power. There's a serious power crisis. And unfortunately, the President Ramaphosa decided to go to COP26, I believe it was, where he pronounced that South Africa would depart from the use of coal. We all know that's impossible. His Minister of Energy, responded and said, coal is king. So the fact that JSE is opening up to trade carbon credits by April, May, reminds me of a statement that people say that South Africa is a third world country with first world mentality. Let's see where it goes. Will the carbon credits translate into anything profitable? Will they be well subscribed when we all know the facts on the ground, which is that South Africa is nowhere near departing from their dependence on coal? So that's the one that piqued my interest.
Okay, let's start from here. Nigeria, you reported that federal government FAC allocation has gone up. It went up 23.56% in 2023, we're told, 23.9% in the month of February alone. So revenue remittances have gone up. The federal government tells us that this is as a result of the removal of fuel subsidy. What the average Nigerian should be interested in is what has gone up in terms of service delivery. These state governments from FAC allocation, they get more money. They also do IGR in their states, internally generated revenue. Everything is going up. The poor are being overtaxed. But what are they doing with the money? Who is monitoring service delivery? Now, once upon a time in this country, the Ministry of Finance every month published the allocations. That was when Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala was coordinating Minister of the Economy. I think that's a tradition that should be continued because the whole idea was about transparency and accountability. And Nigerians were asked, know what your local government is getting. Know what your state governor is getting at the end of the month. And we need to see that translated into quality service delivery in the states. I do not think that we're seeing that in many of the states. As for Reddit, Reddit is a social media platform. Now, the significance of Reddit, looking for 6.5 billion, they may well achieve that objective because already the IPO that is debuting today has been oversubscribed about 4 to 5 times, within the range of $31 to $35. The big indication of it is that this year we've been talking about artificial intelligence, NVIDIA, and AI companies and all the supplementary companies doing very well. But what Reddit will show is that, look, there is an opportunity in another direction, however. But whether the oversubscription will translate into stronger performance going forward is the big question. As for Federal Reserve in the US, yes, we're expecting a statement today, not just about inflation rate, but also about what they call SEP, the socio-economic performance range, which will tell us about employment figures, tell us about inflation, tell us about GDP. But the bigger issue will be what they tell us about the matrix, what J. Powell tells us about the matrix, which is the dot point. The dot map that they told us in December is that there will be 3 rate cuts this year, 2024. There will be 4 in 2025. There will be 2 in 2026. I think investors will be interested in that. But there's a 0 chance that there will be any significant difference because what the Federal Reserve in the US has been doing is to take a patient, cautious, less data-driven position. That's likely what we may see. You left out Japan, in my view. Yesterday, Japan, the last negative rate regime in the world, 4th largest economy of the world, the Bank of Japan decided to move out of its ultra-loose, accommodative, monetary policy rate. I think that's a big development. And in Japan, it's a big policy shift that we have seen. Now they moved from minus 0.1%, rate to 0 to 0.1%. Well, will Japan adopt more aggressive rates? It remains to be seen. In the short term, the yen has, has gone weaker against the dollar. But, what is likely to happen in terms of implications for the global economy? They are also revising the yield curve, policy, control policy. Japan is going to stop purchase of commercial papers and corporate bonds and probably ease out the yield control curve within a year. So I think it's a major seismic shift. But what will be the implications for the Japanese economy and also for the global economy? And the catalyst for this, of course, is the Shunto negotiations. Now that wages, according to Rengo, is going to go up by about 3.7% on the average. Some companies are offering 5.5%. So it means there will be more money in workers' hands, there will be greater consumer demand, and inflation will go up. That's what they are trying to control in Japan. But it's important to see that the last stronghold of negative rates has moved in another direction.
All right, Rosadiri, thank you so much for that insightful business update.